Welcome back to Who Am I? What is Who Am I? It's just my own little conception. Who am I? I will be your host for the next hour or so as I attempt to riff about the mysteries, riff about our own nature, questions like who am I? Where did I come from? What's the nature of my design? What's the object of the exercise? And it's not just me, it's who are we? What's the object of our exercise? Where does current events meet history? Who am I? And what's the meaning of anything? I've been thinking about it in my own mind. I like to riff about it. My favorite topic is source energy because I believe that a better understanding of who we are in reference to the nature of the material universe around us helps us to understand what our mission on this planet, on this life, in this life is. I think ultimately, speaking about it in general terms, which is what I do, I am trying to get us as humanity just sort of generally aligned. Generally aligned, looking at it from the right perspective, forward looking, self accepting. There's a particular flow that we are all in that I'm not saying that you have to see it from my point of view. It's an angle, and it's an angle from where everybody is standing individually. What am I saying? I'm talking garbledy-gook. It's so early in the morning, and I've had tech problems already. Forgive me. Let's slow down just a little bit and try to take this naturally. What is who am I? Who are we? Let's face some important questions, humanity. What are we all about? And what's the point of everything? Is it, kill or be killed? Dog eat dog? Us versus them? What is the object of the exercise? What is the ground state rules of the game at the grid level? How about that? Is that an interesting question? And how do you answer a question like that? Well, we're going to make some attempts to do it throughout the course of the show Who Am I, both today and other days, because basically my exercise of Who Am I is an exercise of trying to align my two selves and then turn and address my favorite topic, which is what the heck is the meaning of life? And who am I? And what is God? Who's God? What's the inner being? How do I interface with the rest of the universe? What's the meaning of my life? Those are all my favorite questions. And during the course of the show, it's gonna be a mixture of, at times, me looking like I'm teaching something, and then always trying to find new ground, new interesting vantage points or insights. We're going to try to stay unconditional for the most part, although there is sort of an echo of a condition out there. I am not Abraham looking at this completely unconditionally. I am a human being. I am a human being, and I am looking at it from a human being's perspective. I am standing in my physical shoes. She's always saying, if we were standing in your physical shoes. Well, I am standing in my physical shoes, and so I'm not just going all full on Abraham, but as near as possible, I'm going to get unconditional about it. even while I am standing in my conditional shoes. Not pushing back against anything, just trying to understand. Just trying to understand who I am and what is my place in this world and what is the meaning of my life and what is the best way for me to move forward joyfully, effectively, happily, while at the same time doing no harm to the body around me. That's first, do no harm. And then second, if we can get to part B, part A is don't do any harm. At least flow harmlessly with the rest of the group. And then if you can manage, do some good, somewhere, somehow. Be some advantage to the wholeness that we are. I suspect that my drive to do this show is a larger part of me trying to get me to be more helpful to the greater field around me. You know, let's apply this principle. So I have a thesis. My thesis is there is really, you could think of, there is only one problem that humanity has, and each one of us has it from time to time individually. Some of us have it more and some of us have it less, you know, but collectively we really have this problem, and especially in the United States. Collectively we have this problem, and collectively, especially right now, because of who and what just won the White House and what is going on, the spirit of what's going on amongst our governmental structure right now, as a freaking chainsaw is being taken to our workforce and our organizational systems of intention, at least the parts that it's amputation. It's not surgical refinement of making sure that the right people get the right services, get the right help, get the right needs. I think the reason is ultimately because I push back against nothing, and I assume I've had some interesting moments, and it's interesting as doing this show, because nobody really watches. I kind of feel every day like I have to start at the beginning and explain everything from the beginning. You know, I can't remember what it was that I talked about yesterday because nobody watched it yesterday, so I have to start out fresh. And so it feels like Groundhog Day with differences. You know, here I am. As a matter of fact, that's how the Who Am I show started. It was me. I was just trying to intentionally get good at a presentation, and I thought that this presentation would take about 2 hours. As I'm going to air quote, I explained everything. I explained everything in 2 hours. And then I was going to try to get it, compact it smaller than that until it was an 18-minute nutshell where I could explain to people what it was that they were missing in their calculations, that if they would but add it back in, the whole universe would all of a sudden, in a way, make sense. It would light up in a way where you go, oh my God, is that what's happening? Oh, I can see it. And so it does that. But on the other hand, it puts you in a funny conundrum, in a funny quandary, because it puts you in a different place than where you always were. And now you've got to calculate, oh, well, what am I going to do? Who am I now? What am I going to do now? What's the purpose of my life now that I have shifted? I think it's the meaning of, you know, when you practice this for a little bit, Abraham, does all hell break loose? Yes, that is what happens, because it puts you on different vibrational footing than the habitual patterns you have been engaged in. And now you've either got to keep feeling your way through, Or you've got to go back to the old collective habitual pattern that you know now isn't serving you. You can't do that anymore. You have to go on, but what's the way? What is the way? There is no, you're going to have to forge your own path. And it's worse than that. It's almost like, you remember the movie, there was a place in the movie Indiana Jones and I think it was the Temple of Doom, or it was the Last Crusade. They were on the backside of some temple kind of structure. That's why I was thinking maybe it was Temple of Doom, but it might have been the last movie where he was with Sean Connery, his father, where Indy was with Sean Connery, and they were escaping. There was a moment where they had to take an invisible path, and actually the way they did it is he thought that the path was there, but they couldn't see it, so he picked up some dirt and he threw it out there, and now you could see the path because the dirt was sitting on it, and then now they knew where it was, and so they just kept walking out on it. I guess that's an imperfect analogy, but the invisible path is the deal. And sometimes you have to know that path is there. No one's ever walked there. There's no dirt on the path. You can't see it. But now that you've come this far, you got to keep going. You have to feel your way through. I know that the path that I am taking right now is way not traveled very much. And but I don't mean to push back against anything that we are doing. All that we are doing is well and blessed to a point. Absolutely to a point. And when you look around at what we've got, there's a great deal of our structure is and was doing pretty well, but it's poisoned by certain things. And I think, personally, I think that a collective understanding of who and what we are is going to illuminate a lot of what the problems are. Our politics, what's going on, current events, what's going on in our government right now in the United States is a big fat experience of us trying to figure out who we are and what matters to us. And a lot of what matters to us is getting slashed and burned. And a lot of what matters to us is not actually being attended to. There's a lot of interesting things. Who am I? Who am I? What is the meaning of this show? I'm sort of drifting at the moment. I've got a lot of stuff on my mind. There's a lot of really interesting aspects to take this to. Yesterday I went into some talking about the structure, the basic structure of the universe is what we want to keep coming back to, because it is the structure of the universe itself which is going to save us. And our understanding of the actual structure of the actual universe is going to save us. And us as human beings lining up our internal self with how the actual physical universe actually works, lining the two selves up so that our imagination works better, so that our creative imagination works better, so that our industrial creative imagination works better. As we imagine our technologies and our industry and our mechanics and our systems, how we fit together the machinery that puts together who humanity is. And then now we got to ask the question, who are we? And what is the object of the freaking exercise? I'm going to tell you what the object of the freaking exercise is. It is sustainability. It is not just sustainability, it is joyful sustainability for all of us, for the whole field, for the whole biofield. in some manner and let God allow it to evolve to whatever perfect form that we could help get it to, with ourselves and the biofield around us, tending and caring and loving the field around us, knowing that it is actually an extension of our own physical body. You know, it all just depends on how you're identifying, how you identify in your own brain, in your own self. Now, I've been for over a year and a half, although I've only been broadcasting for a year and a couple of months, 14 months or so, off and on, sporadically. I started going live a month ago, 6 weeks ago. I don't know. That's been a bit touch and go, because the art of sitting in front of a recorder and then posting it to YouTube later intact is one thing, but doing it live, it's another muscle altogether, and I've just kind of been working on it. It's a little tricky for me, but it helps to have nobody in the room. Then my brain can kind of simmer me down and go, oh, it's just exactly like nobody's listening anyway, so what does it matter? But my practice has been to spend this time. For a while it was 2 hours a morning, because, like I said, I thought the original mission was I was trying to refine a particular program where I covered a particular set of information, where I covered an explanation of the physical universe, sort of encapsulating Nassim Harameyn's explanation, touching on the fact that it's a black hole spinning full structure of Plancks, holographically exchanging their data through their vibrational. Anyway, I would try to explain that, and then throw in a brief explanation about the inner being. I would go to a slide showing the neocortex and what its function is to our lives, as in, higher emotional control and morality, and there's whatever, and then talk about the fact that I think we're genetically modified, and then I go over to the article at the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences that was published some 34 years ago, 33 years ago, 34 years ago, 33 and a half, describing this genetic modification that we've got. Actually, it doesn't say we were genetically modified. What it says is human chromosome number 2 is fused. And if you are a geneticist and you understand what they're telling you when they sequence it all out, and through the sequence, what they realize is that this is two genes fused together at the telomere to telomere, with redundancies on both sides clipped away, which has had the effect of holding that fusion together. Now, these scientists who explain, what they're looking at, don't make any conclusions about why they're looking at it. They're just saying it's a fused chromosome. And the two chromosomes that were fused are not human. They are more ape-like. They are less sophisticated. They don't match us so much as they match a lower order, but they're fused together, and this is human chromosome number 2, so I point to that, and then I kind of, give the elbow to the rib nudge. What does this imply? Because this would have happened some 200,000 years ago. And there wasn't anybody around us at that time who could have performed genetic modification surgery, probably something like CRISPR, editing, gene editing, some sort of, I don't know, some technology that we didn't have 200,000 years ago, or at least our story of us that you see at the local natural history museum does not reflect anything like that, you know. So I throw that in there, and then I throw in some stuff about cymatics, because cymatics is a really interesting way to show you how we are vibrational in nature. You know that cymatics is the study of vibration, the relationship between vibration and form. And then, after assuring us all that we are vibrational in nature, and visually demonstrating that connection, then you point out this moment in time and how vibrationally it is shifting. And there are some last throes of some things that are kind of petering out in a way, but one last gasp on their way out. It looks like they're more powerful. They're actually less powerful. And that's a good thing. Some of our misconceptions are on the way out the door. Don't worry about everything. All is well. All is really well. Part of my equations, my personal equations, you have to add in the part of the equation that says things are always working out for us. Things are always working out for us. And they are indeed always working out for us. You just have to kind of take your eyes off the physical, off the conditional, and put it onto the vibrational, and realize who we are and where we are going. And quit being so mad at ourselves and being so mad at ourselves and at each other for where we are, and start being really glad for where we are going. Because where we are going is actually pretty frickin' amazing. Now, I realize that what's in between where we are and where we are going is where we are. But if we could understand more quickly, without resistance, where we're going and just go there, we wouldn't really have to fight anybody on the way. It would just so immediately appear so ridiculous what some are doing. Where does one begin with this? Who are we? Who are we? The very first thing we have to understand is how our equipment works, how our individual equipment works, because first and foremost, every single one of us is an individual. Even if you are an individual who is for some reason running the United States government, you know, crazy. It doesn't matter. No matter who you are an individual. Now, you may be looking at the bigger picture as you are your individual self. As am I. I am looking at the bigger picture. At least during the hour of this show, I try to do that. I'm looking at the bigger picture while I'm also looking at the smaller picture, while I'm also looking at it completely unconditionally. On the other hand, I am also a human being coming from this place in space and time on the grid from my life, trying to make sense of who am I and what the F is going on with my country and what will fix it. Because I don't just want to just look at facts. I don't want you to just tell me what terrible thing happened in the news today. You know, what outrageous whatever transpired that is, you know, non-redeemable. What just happened? What tragedy? Just, you know, I don't want to hear that. That's not what I want to hear. That's not what I want to think about either, actually. Because the cool thing is that we don't have to stay here and we don't have to wallow in this, because the way out, the path through, has actually been shown to us. And what am I saying? Well, I already said that I think that the object of the exercise is joyful sustainability, and I think we can reach it. A lot of people talk about, our carbon footprint, and they talk about sixth mass extinction. They talk about needing 1.6 planets to provide us with all of the goods and services that that human beings are grinding through right now. It's true. It would take, and the good news is that we're grinding a lot of the ecosystem into crap that we don't need. Why is that good news? Because we could stop doing it. We don't need to keep grinding our ecosystem into crap. We don't need to keep turning our truffula trees into thneeds. We don't need to keep doing that for a number of reasons. First of all, we got a lot of stuff, and we could just work with that for a while. We could learn better recycling. We could, let me get on this litany for a minute of all the things that we should do that we're not going to do unless there is actually a really blessed element to this that is going to add literal energy to the equation, to our equation. And that is the fact that we live in a universe that we could tap into the free, clean, unlimited energy field that it is, that we are, that we all are together. But what's the caveat here? The caveat is we've got to understand it. We have to understand it, and we have to understand ourselves. We've got to understand who we are. We've got to understand how this medium of reality-making machine, how it functions from any particular person's individual perspective, which, by the way, to complicate the issue, every single individual person's perspective is going to be coming at it from a completely different angle, every one of which, in some manner, is valid. So now how do you tell what the truth is? Oh my God, everybody's right in some way. Oh my gosh. Now how do I tell what the truth is? I got to add everything in. I got to add it all up. Well, is that really what you have to do? You could. That's what I do. I am an addition consciousness expert. And my field is addition consciousness. And the thing I shake my finger at and warn the world about is subtraction consciousness. You gotta be careful with subtraction consciousness. If you're gonna engage in subtraction consciousness, you gotta understand what you're really engaged in. You're engaged in selective focus. And as such, that's fair. Selective focus is actually the name of the game. You don't have to focus on all the bad stuff or any, whatever. Your focus is your own choice. But there's a difference between subtracting it from the whole picture as you understand the wholeness, as in, who are we? And what the heck is humanity all about? What is America all about? Where did we come from? Where are we going? What did we used to be before Project America happened, And what is happening to Project America right now as our government is siding with North Korea and Vladimir Putin and thumbing their nose at our traditional European allies, our friends, our buddies? Oh my gosh! What on earth is going on here? Well, this is where America gets to up its identity a little bit. We are not just America, we are humanity, people. We are humanity, and the fact of the matter is, this is one of my basic precepts that I put forward in this show as I approach this situation unconditionally, every morning, unconditionally, unconditionally, unconditionally. It turns out I end up in the same place all the time. There is no us and them. There is, let's see, that's one of them. We are one. We are one, everybody. We are... I've blown through a lot of stuff. And now the question is, where am I going? Because it looks like I'm halfway through the show. As I talk about who am I? Who am I? And I've brushed on a whole bunch of things, and I've left a whole bunch of things in the pathway behind me that I could go back and pick up pieces of and fill in the important parts. At some point, I want questions. I want questions. I want somebody in my physical space who asks me a question and then allows me to go find an unconditional answer to it, because I can't necessarily tell them where to lay the pipes and how long the pipes should be and who to hire and what color and what's the vendor name, and I can't tell you specifics. But I could tell you certain general things about our general configuration and the answers about how humanity moves forward from here. I think that the biggest problem that we have is we don't understand our configuration. And the biggest thing to understand about our configuration is that the universe that we are in is it's vibrational. The primary characteristic of the universe that we all share is that it is vibrational. Then the secondary effect of the vibrational aspect of it is that it turns into this matter that you're looking at, atoms and protons and whatnot. The Plancks configure into shapes and forms that we then live through like experience. That's kind of what's happening, this rolling manifestation. The scientists point at the real world. I'm air quoting the word real. They point to the real world and they claim its primacy. But the interesting thing is that aspect of the world is always in flux. The stars are not in the same position now as they were, a couple of seconds ago. Or when I started the show, I should have said that. They aren't in the same place as when I started the show. Nay, they are not in the same place that they were a few seconds ago. And things are not burning at quite the same temperature, and the vector direction everything's changed physically. Now, actually, things are changing vibrationally too. So what's the same? The setup is the same. What is the setup? Well, that's a very good question, isn't it? And it's actually what religions try to tell you. They try to tell you fundamentally, what's the setup? How do you get to heaven? What is heaven? Will there ever be such a thing as heaven on earth? Or is heaven just this unconditional place in my mind, my reward that I get to once I leave this veil of tears? And depending on how you answer that, then you call yourself you call your religions different names and stuff. This is kind of the toes I'm stepping on, so I'm sorry about that. I actually think that our cultural, religious structures, they have a great deal of meaning, but physically, the setup is a particular way, people. And if your imagination would be cast in a way that it actually is, then your vibrational higher being self would have a much easier time downloading information to you, because she's giving you vibrational downloads. But depending on how you are lined up inside of yourself, how you've got your internal workings lined up or not aligned up, you're reading the vibrational readings from your higher self in different ways. You're either reading it twisted, you might be reading it clear. How clear are you reading it? Does the world make utter sense to you in a way? Absolute, joyful sense from a happy point of view? Can you see where it's all okay? Can you see how it's all working out for us? Can you see how everything is always working out for you? Well, the answer when you ask me that, it comes and goes, you know. When I apply these things that I'm telling you in the Who Am I show, then to my smaller self, things do make better sense. How all of this stuff calculates out also goes to questions about what should I be doing in my life. Now, first of all, you really, really, really have to understand that your emotions are coming from the fact that you are a vibrational being living in a vibrational universe, and you have two selves. One self you absolutely know about. That's you. You in your physical mind, in your physical life, your physical brain and your physical skull, in your physical shoes, making your physical choices. That's you. Everybody knows about that one. That's conventional, expirational you. But you have another you. And we misinterpret this other you all the time. One of the biggest interpretations is to cast it away from yourself as though it is not you, but is a force from outside of you trying to impose something on you. Trying to impose wisdom or, whisper guidance or hand down retribution or, I don't know. I don't know how people imagine this thing. But the difference is if you would go into a room for a year, and actually it doesn't take nearly this long. It doesn't take very long at all, especially when you hear this truth echoed in the teachings of things like Abraham and Bashar and Seth and Alan Watts and The Voice Within, all of that we all know about this. But to identify with it, to think of it as you, this is you. This is you from your highest perspective. This is you from a place where you actually blend perfectly with everyone around you. You in this place blend perfectly with everyone around you. So now it's somebody for you to aspire to. It's you, but not you. It's your highest self. It's your vibrational self. And what she wants is pure and perfect. And you need to follow her impetus. The impetus, she is the impetus of life in the breast of your chest cavity. There, right at, beating in your breast. She is your... How can you tell the difference between the two selves that you are? Because you are two selves. Your beliefs are your conventional self, by the way. Your beliefs are your conventional self. Your desires are your eternal self. The problem is when you are not in alignment, your beliefs about your desires are screwed up. Now, what you may think that you want is a house in Albuquerque and another one in Myrtle Beach and an apartment in Scotland. You may think that's what you want. And it may very well turn out that that is a viable triangle of desire. But what you actually want is you want freedom, you want mobility, you want experience, you want fun, The Scotland thing is there's somebody in Scotland that we, both of us, like a whole lot. And we think that maybe, there's experience there that we could have. What I'm saying is what you want is pure. What you think you want could be flawed because the way your thinking mind has translated your desires, that the better we get at imagining who we really are and understanding the laws of the universe as they really play out, the better and better and better we will be at reaching for our imagination as we imagine the systems that will encompass the needs of humanity, building them, setting them forth for the future, for tomorrow. The next covenant to the next generation. It'll be better and better and better and more in alignment, and it will more cover all humanity's needs, and it will less and less create that Shiva, Loki, and demonic energy that then has to play out in a destructive way. It has to. That's the way the energies work. We've got to understand ourselves, understand what forward facing means, and what the consequences of getting backwards facing and yet continuing to act, how that messes up the organizational structure of the field we've already got going, the organization we've got going when we go the wrong direction. It's so interesting. It's both metaphorical and absolutely literal. And when you get your imagination lined up with the actual flow of how actual physicality is unfolding, then all of a sudden the universe means a lot more. And you realize, oh, I am here for the joy. I am here for the experience. I am here for the love. I am here to help other life flourish. I am here to appreciate, to hear the voices of my other self. What do I mean, my other self? Well, there is only one of us here. That at one point in the identity game, you realize, oh, that big one, we're all that one. Isn't that funny? I am both the big one and my little one, and everyone is. That's actually the secret sauce. And that's why part of my formula is if I was going to be building a business or doing any kind of project, you have to play it as a win-win proposition. Whoever you are engaging with you to help you as a cooperative component to whatever project you've decided would be a lovely thing to organize and get going, it needs to be a win-win for everyone involved in some manner, because your inner being is standing in a win-win position. She knows where, if we would all come that direction, every one of us would win. We are playing a win-win game, people. And this is the biggest, most fundamental, secret problem that humanity has. It seems so simple and so basic, and yet it would change everything if we would change this one thing, our understanding that it is not a win-lose game. It isn't a win-lose game. And we shouldn't be playing it as a win-lose game. And you could say, but it's obviously a win-lose game because look at those winners and look at those losers. Look at those people combating one another. And I see winners on one side and I see losers on the other side. And I say, do you? Do you see winners and losers? I see a whole bunch of losers. Everyone playing that game is losing. And there's another thing about this. There's another element to this that we aren't adding in. We aren't adding in how reflective and malleable the structure of the universe actually is. When you play the game as a win-lose, it will reflect it back to you as though it was a win-lose. And that's how come, it looks like a win-lose. And so everybody keeps playing it like a win-lose. But if we would all but understand that we can play it like a win-win, play the formula, work the formula, play it like a win-win, we would all be winners. Winners, 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 winners. It would be that what Trump was trying to tell us. That we'd get tired of all the winning if we would just let him, whatever. He's like a child. He's a baby man. And we should love him like a baby man. He's a baby king. And we should understand how the energies work and who we are. And we should manipulate him to get him to give us everything that we really want out of our government, out of our governmental structure, out of each other. But we're not sophisticated enough to do that. We aren't there yet. And I'm sure that what I just said could easily be misinterpreted by someone with a dark, dangerous, coming from a dark, dangerous place in their mind. They'd be like, oh my God, what did she just say? We should use him. Yeah, all he ever wanted was the bling and the admiration. He doesn't know beans about any of his subjects. Listen to him for a minute. He's bing bang boom bum. He has no idea what he's saying. And the dark side has taken him into their bosom, and they're making a big deal out of him. And it's actually also interesting. It is so freaking interesting. Who are we? What is our psychology? How does all of this work? What is a whole human being? And who are we as humanity on this planet as a whole human being? It's just as free, clean energy comes into play. I think it's going to be on board. I have been told by 2027. And of course, they could be wrong, and this number could slip. But the thing is it is possible to plug into the infinite field of 0-point energy, this matrix of energy and information that links everything with everything, including links all of us to all of us. It does. It just does. And it's going to be harder and harder and harder to encrypt pass code word. If our safety in the future depends on being able to continue to securely compartmentalize all sensitive information, we're screwed, because we can't. Because the universe is holographic, and you can find that information, because I already have all the information of everything. Now, being able to find the trail back into a tiny piece of the wormhole from where I am to that piece of information over there, it takes time. Quantum computing and a lot of imaginal thought is going to go into it, but we can't keep ourselves from ourselves, because we are one being. And we certainly should be thinking that way as humanity, all of us cells in one body. And what does this body want to do? This body wants to play, wants to circulate, wants to eat, loves beauty. We love beauty. We absolutely love biological abundance. Whenever we find it, we like to build a theme park around it and figure out ways to have people experience it somehow. We love that. We absolutely adore that. We love our children. There's all kinds of things that we have in common. There's all kinds of things that we have in common, and we are one species on this planet. We are a superorganism. And when we get together and start planning our systems, we should not build systems that are all kinds of caste strata structured based on there are good people and there are bad people and there are worthy people that should be pampered to the outer space limits of our ability to pamper them, and then there are others who should slave and trudge no matter what. No, 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 no. And that's what automation and AI is really all about. It's about relieving humanity from all the drudge jobs. But right now, the people who are doing the drudge jobs, who are getting their paycheck, their right to go to the grocery store by virtue of that drudge shit job that I do, I'm nervous because AI or automation is going to do away with my job, and the corporation that we're all serving is going to increase its profits by, cutting the workforce and using automation and AI to increase the productivity and then hog all of the resources and all the benefits to themselves. Well, that's not right. That's not right. However, one of the nice things that happens when a single person is involved with a single organization, say it's something like Amazon, then they build a structure that is the platform. See, when you have too much diversity, then you have maybe one platform that works really well, but everybody has to be diverse, and so whoever's got the best platform, they get to use that one, and all the diversity is everybody else has to use platforms that are not as good. Have you noticed that there are some platforms on the streaming level where the characteristics are fabulous? You just really like that, and other ones they don't use those. Wouldn't it be nice if all of the interfacing that we did with our distribution systems and our if they were all streamlined in the same way that Amazon was? If there was some sort of, all of our production and distribution came into, so that, because I love the Accio-magic aspect of Amazon. However, I understand that there are exploitative aspects of it from an outside conditional perspective that could be fixed. But it operating as a single system is not a bad thing. But it's a single system that kind of belongs to all of us and should be benefiting all of us, But maybe it has to get online first. It has to get up and running as a single, I don't know. I always get into trouble when I start postulating about what conditional things might be better, because I'm not an expert in anything other than the general. I'm an expert in understanding how we're designed. I can see how it works now, and the you have to be aligned with your broader perspective and facing forward in order to most effectively and joyfully move forward in your life. You just have to. And all of this has to do with the meaning of your positive and negative emotions. I only have 5 minutes left, it looks like. No, actually I have, about a little more than 5 minutes left. Our positive and negative emotions are coming from the fact that we have a vibrational overself who is watching the world through our eyes. This larger self that we are is not unconditionally focused. I mean, she's unconditionally focused in a way, but she's focused with you in conditions. Oh, good. Good heavens. I have my little morning toad starting to develop in my larynx. And I'm not going to be able to talk for much longer than 5 minutes anyway, so it's a good thing that my hour is almost up. Who am I? Who am I, and what is the meaning of my life? We are all about joyful sustainability, working it out with one another. Experience, love. You are love. That's who you are, actually. You are love, living in an experience, in a physical experience that sometimes doesn't look like love. When it doesn't look like love, it's because you've got yourself turned backwards and you are entering the field of action at the wrong angle. You're entering it, you're like going against, you're flowing the wrong direction. You're spinning in the opposite direction instead of flowing with the flow of the field around you. You are rubbing the cat the wrong way. You're trying to go upstream. And in doing so, you are running against your greater flow. And that's all your negative emotion is. But it's enough. It's meaningful enough. It means when you are in a state of negative emotion, don't act. Just stay still. Love yourself. Understand yourself. Forgive yourself. Come back to yourself. Know who you are. The who you really are is only your positive side. That negative side is an effect of being in your physical body. Just know that. Your negative self is an effect. Don't take it too seriously. Don't take it too seriously in others. Help others to understand their negative self. Don't hold their negative self against them. Not really. Now, someone's negative self can kind of drive you from their immediate vicinity, but it won't cause them to actually cease to love you if they understand who you really are and who they really are. And that's what I hope to do. I always hope to truly understand who the people around me are and not hold their negative self against them, but to help them understand themselves, what their negative self even means. What their negative self, don't primarily think that what your negative self means is that you need to go out there in the field of physical conditions and wrestle something to the ground because you don't like it. That's not what your negative emotion means. The very first thing you need to do is line your two selves up. Find your happy thought, even in the midst of the destruction. The best way to get out ahead of the worst of it is to hold your happy thought. When the flames have their season, will you hold to your reason? You're loaded down with your talents. Can you still keep your balance? Can you live on a knife's edge? Actually, knife edge. It's not knife's edge. Can you live on a knife edge? Well, all that means is, can you walk through conditions that appear to be negative and hold to who you really are, which is your positive self? And it looks like that's going to bring us to the end of our show. I think before I leave, I'm going to go sneak a peek at the chat room, see whether anybody ever found me. And if they did they stay? Oh, Indigo is here. How long have you been here? 26 minutes. Excellent. That's better than nothing. And you've liked me. I like you too. All right. Well, times we live in strange times, don't we? I feel that it's necessary for us to ponder the questions of who are we and what are we all about? What are the rules of the game that we find ourselves in, and what could we focus on that would be our salvation? Because I don't want to look at all this stuff that I know is true. People, the bad news coming in at the news, they're not lying. Wars are happening. People are being mean to one another. Terrible, terrible things are happening. I wouldn't argue with any of that, but I don't want to focus there either, because I think the place to focus is where the answer is. And the answer lies in us understanding our own character and where it came from, on the one hand, and hold on one second, I thought that was going to do something. Did that do anything? I don't know. I tried to send a heart out. Did it? It didn't show up in the chat. Anyway, we need to understand our character for a lot of reasons. It will help us to understand the politics and current events as they go down now. It will help us in the future, because as we get, say I'm right, and here in a couple of years the whole world starts understanding we don't have to burn fossil fuel, we can plug directly into source energy and be a source driven species. And wouldn't that be cool? And so now all of a sudden people can go off into the bushes with their bits of technology and their little tribe, and they can actually survive now. Now they can survive out in the woods, in the wilderness. But what's going to happen is we're going to have all kinds of cults. Little cults and kingdoms, and different things are going to spring up as people isolate themselves from the rest of the group, and culture and percolate. And that's all well and fine. But if we understand ourselves and the mechanics of this whole thing, then we'll be much better off, much better able to, I hate these emojis. You wave at me and I want to wave back, and or even just send a heart, and I get these weird ones that I don't want to share. Ones like this. I don't want to wave at you with this hand. I want to wave at you with the hand you used. Oh well, it doesn't make any difference. I'm going to get ready to leave. It's been an hour, and this is Bowling with the Ladies morning. I bowl with the ladies on Thursday. I bowl with the seniors on Tuesday. It's one of the biggest ways that I still interact with large groups of people. I'm not a joiner. I'm sort of a bit of a hermit, but I'm looking for my tribe. I know at some point, if we have an interruption in services because of chaotic events that happen on the ground, which I'm pretty sure are going to happen because we don't collectively understand who we are, and so we're working it the wrong way. There is Shiva energy all around us that has got to play out. It's got to fizzle out before we're clear of it. So I know there will be a bit of a disruption, and what will help you in those times is your loving connection to the people and the community in the field around you. How well do you get along with people around you? Because somebody has, rice, someone has beans, someone has flour, someone has lamps, someone has candles, someone has, and we all get together, and someone has water, and we all get together and we help each other survive, and then we reorganize based on a clearer understanding of who we really are, so that our systems are equitable and allow equal opportunity for all individuals. There's a real good reason why we need it to be that way. We can't, hog it all to one person or one family, because we are humanity. And I think I'll leave it at that. I may or may not be back tomorrow morning. I hope that I will be, but it comes and goes. I have to go as the Spirit moves me. And when I have issues, I did have 2 views. Somebody piped in and somebody took off. I don't know. In any case, I will be back someday. And until then, I hope the world holds together. I think it will. Until tomorrow, do your best. Love yourself, love each other. And as always, may the source be with you.